How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Post Flow. My name is Alex, and today we are going to be going over post-production folder structures. If you're new to this channel, which you probably are considering this is our first episode, my name is Alex Bartz, and I am head of post-production at Riotmaker. You can check out more of what we do in the description below. Now, I'm sure you don't want to hear a long intro, so without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into these folder structures. Throughout the course of the year and upon using this structure every single day across hundreds of projects, a couple of folders needed to be removed or restructured, most notably our current, old, final subfolders, as well as the date templated folders. I'll go over why these needed to be removed later into the video, but for now, if you are new here, let's go over why you absolutely positively need a folder structure. When working on multiple projects simultaneously with hundreds of deliverables per project, keeping your files organized in one massive folder is actually keeping your files disorganized in one massive folder is just not the way to do things. Mistakes will be made, files will be lost, deadlines will be missed. Additionally, you might need to hand off your project to someone else like an ad agency or a production company, and no one wants to see files scattered everywhere with no discernible structure. They need to see everything organized, which in turn will create less work for them, meaning happier clients and potentially more work for you. As head of post-production at Riotmaker, whenever an editor hands over a project with clean and organized files, they earn a gold star on my roster. You want that gold star, right? Well, let's begin then. There are four main types of folder structures you need to know about. First, your server folder structure. Second, your project folder structure. Third, your Premiere Pro bin structure. And finally, your project details folder structure. Let's begin with the server folder structure. This is a lot more than a folder labeled current projects. You have to think about all the other items you use to edit with. This includes software, plugins, After Effects scripts, film grain, that transition pack from Envato that literally everyone uses, lens flares, display profiles. The list goes on. To begin, I create two folders named hot storage and cold storage. In 2021, the 2021 version of this structure, I added an underscore to simplify mounting on Linux. I'll explain more about that in a future video. Let's take a look at what is in cold storage first. This is what the cold storage portion of my folder structure looks like. It's simple, clean, and easy to get to your data. Archive is where I put all my old projects sans proxies. You don't need the proxies in the final stages, and if I did need to re-edit, editing raw files are not that big of an issue on modern computers. Additionally, proxies take up space, so removing them adds to the number of projects I can have on my server. Alternatively, you can actually keep the proxies there and then put your raw footage onto hard drives, but that's really only if you have very limited server space. Personally, I have a lot of terabytes. I don't know the exact number, it's just a lot. I can keep the raw footage on my server and just delete the proxies. I organize all of my projects by year. Resources. This has everything I could possibly need in post-production. I always like to download all my programs to software or plugins, or so that if I need to reinstall, I don't have to scour my email for a download link or a product activation code. In fact, I store the product activation code in a text document next to the executable so that it's simply right there. To be archived is where I put projects that need to be cleaned before they are ready for the archive. The reason I do this is sometimes I quickly need to make space on my hot storage server, so I just move the folder there until I have time to prep the project for the archive. It simply just is a way for me to organize my current projects without requiring a ton of time. Staff files is for random files that I need to share with another editor or stuff I download and just don't know where to put. You might be asking why there is another to be archive folder. Well, this is simply a holding folder for when I have time to move the files to be archived over in cold storage. Large file transfers take up time and server speed, so I like to put projects here until I have time to initiate transfers. O2 to sort is where I immediately offload the raw footage to. I don't like to organize my projects directly from the transfer drive, as files can be missed among a host of other issues like file corruption. Instead, I like to offload the entire drive to a temporary folder and sort it from there. This ensures all files are completely transferred to the server, and I can immediately proceed to store the raw footage drive in a secure offsite location. 03 project details. This contains various information about whatever project I'm working on. Scripts, contracts, deliverable sheets, asset lists, all that stuff lives there. I keep it separate from my project folder to reduce clutter and prevent internal documents from accidentally being shared. This folder also syncs to my Google Drive, so I can view and edit on the go. 00 unzip to start new project. In 2021, I changed duplicate to unzip. When creating a new project, I simply unzip that folder and rename it year project name. Lots of folders, I know. For 2021, I removed a couple of folders as I never used them. I also got rid of the current, old, and final subfolders for VFX and color renders as they were just confusing and no one ever used them, including myself. Now I just have a simple for and from folder, which then you would date appropriately per upload. I also removed the folders that had a date template in them, as everyone does dates differently. Month, day, year, day, month, year, or as I use year, month, day. It is also faster to just create a new folder and date it than trying to change the name of an existing folder. Now you might be asking, what is the difference between finals and final masters? On every project I have done, there are always a million exports labeled final, V1, V2, V3, V4, etc. That's not a final. I like to treat my final exports as final candidates, and only when the spot is completely finished, delivered, and approved by client, I'll move the final deliverables to the final masters folder. There should not be a single version file in that folder. The only file that should exist is the final the client signed off on. I will then copy that file over to my client deliverables folder on cold storage server for automatic upload to share. This folder also contains a pre-made Premiere Pro project that mirrors a simplified version of this folder structure. In 2021, I did not change anything as it works great. I also did not upgrade the file to the latest version of Premiere as everyone is running a different version and there's nothing in there that would lead to any compatibility issues with the latest version of 2021. The best part of my folder template is the pre-built Premiere Pro project. This project contains all bins and sequences completely color-coded and labeled that I need to start editing. All bins mirror my folder structure to a certain extent, albeit it is simplified, as I mentioned earlier. Additionally, my slate is already positioned on the timeline at the appropriate time and length, adhering to the ad industry standard extreme reach delivery specifications, which you can read more about here. Every bin is color-coded, and there is a place for everything you may need in almost any project. The audio section of the timeline is also labeled for dialogue, music, and effects. In conclusion, this project template is ready to begin editing without having to waste any time creating all the bins. All right, lastly, our project details folder structure. This is where all important and necessary details regarding your project live. There's more to this than just folders. However, I have created a number of other important document templates to ensure that your project remains organized and nothing gets missed. There's nothing like delivering a project and then getting a last-minute email from clients saying, hey, where's this deliverable for Facebook? Well, these templates will solve that issue. There's a file in there called Agency Production Company Logo. Agents and production companies love to have their logos on the slate, so I always download them off their website and put them here. Completion reports. This is an easy reference sheet to see all the people who worked on the project. No more having to search through emails to find the VFX artist who did that one shot. Additionally, any changes made past shipment can be made here. Deliverables. Now, this one is important. Generally, a client will send you a list of the formats and versions they need. However, these deliverable spec sheets are usually poorly made, confusing, and outdated. Case in point, I once got a deliverable spec sheet that required a beta tape. It was December of 2019. You cannot get a beta made even if you wanted to. This is why I always create my own based on what they sent me, and then confirm my revised spec sheet with the client to make sure that everything they need is right there and ready to go. This is to prevent clients from asking for random cutdowns and additional versions that were never part of the initial scope or budget. The spec sheet also contains all my file names, which helps streamline finishing, conforming, and exports. No more having to figure out what the hell I'm going to call this thing. Spec sheets. I also compose a spec sheet to give the DIT, Data Wrangler, or DP, to require the types of files that I want. Most of the time, I want a raw format, but there are occasions where a ProRes 4x4 will suffice. And that's it. This is how all my productions start. Now, there's no one standard way of organization. What you see here is what works for me, my clients, and my post-production crew. You will probably need to adjust this template to fit your needs and workloads. I predominantly work with ad agencies and business clients, so this works perfectly for that. If you specialize in features, however, this might not exactly fit your needs. I like to say, though, that this works as a great starter template for most types of projects. You can download a zip file of everything I went over, including the Prebuilt Project and spreadsheet templates, for the price of a tasty cold brew at my favorite coffee shop here in Los Angeles, Coffee Commissary. Or, if you have time to kill, create your own. I listed everything that I use, and there's a lot to learn by making your own template. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Again, my name is Alex, and this is the Post Flow, and I will see you in the next episode.